The start of your day is absolutely sacred. It determines everything that comes after, so how you start it should not be left to chance. Some mornings you wake up late and it's chaos. You grab a coffee, have a quick shower and get to work as soon as you can. Other days you wake up on time and you can move a bit slower. You can eat something, you can actually breathe. You feel like an actual human being. But the difference between those isn't luck, it comes down to structure. And if you can build a bit of structure at the start and at the end of your day, everything in between flows better. See, most people don't realise how reactive their days have become. You wake up to alarms, messages, endless notifications, rotas that are changing last minute. So you're already behind before you even get out of bed. And then the day just blurs into caffeine, chaos and noise. And by the time you get home, your head is still in the kitchen, running through everything that you need to do tomorrow. So you sit and scroll, you eat something, maybe pour a drink just to switch off. And you tell yourself tomorrow or next week, I'll actually get a handle on everything, I'll get on track. But ultimately nothing changes because there's no rhythm, there's no structure holding all of that stuff together. And I know that because it was me for a good few years before I was able to actually do anything about it. And the thing that actually changed everything for me was during lockdown. Like a lot of people, I had nothing but time and I thought, right, I'm actually going to sort myself out now. I started reading, I started listening to podcasts, I started looking after myself a lot more. And there's one thing that helped all these changes I made snowball into something that had a pretty massive impact on my life. And it's so simple, it was literally just having a morning routine. That was it. And yet we've all seen that guy and his Dubai 5 a.m. morning routine that takes about 7 hours to complete. But there is actually a lot of power in a morning routine, and it's because of something called habit stacking. And the idea is that you chain a few habits together to make them easier to remember and easier to do. And honestly, you're probably already doing this if you have a shower and then you brush your teeth and then you get dressed and then you have breakfast. There's an order to it and each thing naturally flows into the next thing. And I'm sure if you did it in a different order, it would feel a bit off. That's habit stacking. So my lockdown routine was a bit longer than that. And not everyone has the time to do this. I certainly don't have the time to do this anymore, but I would get up, I would have a cold shower. I would then stretch for about 10, 15 minutes. Then I would meditate. Then I would get dressed. Then I would read for about 20 minutes. Then I would have breakfast. So it was quite a long routine. It took me about 90 minutes to 2 hours to do some mornings. And at first it felt like a big lift. It was a big change in my life at the time, so that's quite natural. But after a few weeks, it became pretty much automatic, just like brushing your teeth is. It just became part of my day. And getting all that stuff done first thing in the morning meant that the rest of the day just flowed and just felt so much better, like so much more productive. Even if I just ended up on Warzone for 3 hours afterwards. But I already knew that I'd done everything that I wanted to do. I'd done all these positive habits. I'd already won the day. And at one point I realized that I wasn't chasing motivation anymore. I wasn't chasing habits, trying to be more consistent. I had discipline instead, because I'd built a system and a routine that made it so easy for me to do. And that's the power of habit stacking. You use the momentum of doing one thing to carry you into the next thing and make that easier. And I can honestly say it actually changed my life. But then eventually after lockdown, I realized something. It wasn't just the morning that needed structure. Because finishing work at midnight really messes up your eating, your sleep, your willpower, you're exhausted, you just want convenience or you just want to get into bed. So like I said, most people already have at least some kind of morning routine, but hardly anyone has an evening routine. And in hospitality, that's usually where everything unravels. And if you can build both, one to set you up for the day and one to help you switch off, I guarantee you'll feel way more in control. You'll get more done in the day and you'll sleep better at night, which then has a positive effect on the next day. So you get more done and you sleep better and it just snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. So I call this the 2 routine rule and I'll show you how it actually helps. One of my clients, Kevin, right, he's been deep in the trenches lately. His workload is ridiculous at the minute. There's been staff changes and then to top it off, he's going into the Christmas period with just him on his station because the other pastry chef is off on paternity leave. And the last few months we've been building up his habits so that his nutrition and his workouts are pretty much locked in, which is huge, but he's been massively struggling to switch off after work. His head's still in the kitchen thinking about prep lists, orders, rotas, everything he still needs to do, but hasn't got around to doing yet. So I gave him something that's been working for me recently, and that's a walking brain dump. So he goes for a walk, records a voice note just for himself, and just spills everything that's in his head. It can literally be anything. And trust me, it really works. Some people prefer to just write stuff down instead, and that works too. But I find talking for like 5-10 minutes just gets absolutely everything out. And then you can even take the transcript of that voice note, whack it into ChatGPT, and ask it to summarize everything for you. And it can pull out an actionable to-do list of everything you still need to do. It's such a good way to organize your thoughts. And And since he started doing this, Kevin is now sleeping better, he feels more in control, and he's still performing at a high level in the kitchen. So we're still working on turning this into a bit more of a routine with things like listening to music or a podcast to wind down, or reading, or just not using his phone in the hour before he goes to bed so he can switch off a bit more. Because after a while, that'll become a kind of ritual that just naturally tells his brain that it's time to switch off. So think of these routines as bookends. Without them, the middle of your day is a mess and it can just collapse. But with them in place, everything stands up straight, everything is a lot better. So here's how I start building it. The morning is for getting shit done. Pick something you've been trying to be consistent with. Do a workout, read 10 pages of a book, eat something healthy, prep a meal for later on, go for a walk, meditate, stretch, whatever it is. But this is where you box off the habits that keep getting pushed to the side or keep getting forgotten about. If you need inspiration for what to actually do, think about your past New Year's resolutions. What have you been wanting to start doing, but haven't got around to doing yet? And then stack that into your morning routine. For example, have a shower, then get dressed, then grab a coffee, then do 15 minutes of push-ups as a home workout. Okay, then the evening is for switching off. I still think the brain dump is one of the best ways to slow down your mind a little bit, but you can also just go for a walk, have a nice meal where you don't watch anything, you don't look at screens while you're doing it, sit in for 5 minutes to reflect, or you can just slow down by not using your phone before bed, or reading, or listening to music or a podcast, whatever. But this is where you round off the day so that your brain isn't going a million miles an hour. So the details themselves and what habits you do doesn't actually matter that much. The sequence of them does. You're basically building a recipe for your morning and your evening, just with habits instead of ingredients. So start with the essentials, and then you can season it and add things in over time. So look for a little stack of 2 or 3 habits that you're already doing in a morning or in an evening, and then just try and add one thing to it. That's how you build discipline without needing to be motivated or have tons of willpower or have actual discipline. Seriously, try it and see how much better you feel. So I hope you found this one useful. There's a couple of other videos you can watch here. I'll catch you in the next one.